Hey guys, I'm here at BlizzCon 2014 with Kent from the Heroes of the Storm team at Blizzard. How's it going, Kent?
It's going great. Having a great time here.
Yeah, so you guys announced some new characters here
We did.
Over the BlizzCon weekend, but I'm sort of curious if we can start, like, where you see, MOBAs are really popular right now, multiplayer online battle arenas, League of Legends, Dota 2. I'm curious, where do you think Heroes of Storm fits in alongside other games in the genre?
Right, so at Blizzard, people can really peg us down. We kind of do the same thing over and over. We find a genre we love, and we say, like, hey, can we do something cool with this genre? Can we accentuate it? Kind of like what Jeff talked about today with Overwatch, how they did with the first-person shooter. And we looked at this genre, and we're all big fans of it. I've poured 100 of hours myself into these games and love them to death. And we kind of asked ourselves, well, what can we do? What can we accentuate? And we really love the team fight and the team nature of this game. Like if you played a game of basketball where it's very coordinated, you have guys pushing balls when they're not even looking, right? And then catching it and doing alley-oops and other cool mechanics. We really wanted to stress that, this team play venture. And so we also wanted to really make the game quick to get into, but still offer that strategic depth that gives the game those hundreds of hours. We wanted you to come in for the action, but stay for the strategic depth. And so we really kind of see our game as something you can kind of pick up and play. You can play it over a lunch hour. We've tried to tune the game so it has about a 20-minute game length, so you can get in and out of a game. We also wanted to kind of address those toxic natures that we see a lot in the game, where really the enemies aren't your enemies, your enemies are your teammates. We really wanted to nip that in the bud as much as we could with the game design. And so we really kind of see this game as more like the fast-paced, action-packed team brawler, where it's much more about working with your teammates to overcome the strategies that the map presents itself at the moment and what the enemy team presents itself, rather than having this static objectives that are always the same every time. We want to see what happens when can we see real strategy come out when players have to figure out on the fly, well, shoot, these shrines just activated on Sky Temple. Oh, we weren't expecting that. Okay, quick, scramble and find the best strategic option on the fly like that. And we want to see what happens when players get that opportunity.
Great. I mean, it seems like one of the challenges in building these types of games is there's so much familiarity around them. People know what a lane is, what a creep is, what a minion is, what a tower is. You want to take advantage of that, but you want to take advantage of it so much that you're building the same type of game. So can you kind of speak to how you guys have approached, like, building something that feels familiar to players of the genre, and also doing it your own way? Right.
So when we started a few years ago, we decided to take the game offline and really kind of reboot it from the ground up. And we started challenging ourselves. What are the core things of the game? We tried playing a few rounds where we didn't even have towers in the game. They were just minions pushing the lane. And we realized, oh, we need something here. We don't know what it is. We want it. And that's kind of how we developed this town or fort system, where you have an array of towers. We realized there's a few key bones that were holding the game together, and that was the minions in the lane, and the fact that they provide a base amount of experience for your players. At the time, we didn't even have Team XP yet, so we wanted to keep that going. We liked the idea of these stop points that could stop and advance with either towers, which is what we originally had, until we switched over to forts, and how they could offer a line of defense for you. And so we wanted to keep some of these things so they're still familiar, still played like the type of games that you've already grown and loved, while still being able to offer fresh new things through like the talent system, which gives you a gameplay that's kind of similar to an item shop as you might see in another game, but fit the gameplay of ours, which is a fast pace, so you do it on the field. And it doesn't matter if you master the mechanic of last hitting in order to get talent. It's all about soaking experience for the team. So we can place the emphasis rather than on that tactical gameplay of nailing the last hit, and more on the strategic gameplay, like, am I in a spot that's advantageous for my team? So we're just kind of mixing it up, and still where, yeah, you still want to be in XP range, but it's actually really important because now it's affecting your whole team.
Sure. So esports are something that flows throughout most of Blizzard's games.
Right.
Can you speak to the priority level around making Heroes a hardcore, competitive, spectatable experience? Like, where does that fall in relation to everything else?
So with StarCraft 2, that was like #1 priority, I would say. We made a lot of decisions around the development of that game to make sure it would be at the highest level of very spectator-friendly esport. With Heroes of the Storm, we're taking a very different approach. We still definitely want it to be a blossoming esport. We have an esport scene that's relied around it. But when we were earlier on in development, it was not our primary concern. It was much more about, hey, let's make this a fun game to play, a game we want to engage with and is fun. And for us, if it's going to be a fun game, it's going to have a lot of strategic depth to it, something that I will want to pour hundreds and probably thousands of hours into. And that in and of itself, and we've looked at Hearthstone. Hearthstone didn't really focus on becoming an esport, yet here we are at BlizzCon and we're watching these people play for lots of money over the tournament of what was a card game, which if you told anybody internally at Blizzard, like, oh, Hearthstone's going to be a big esport, they're like, That's funny. That's funny. But here we are, and it's happening. And so we're kind of just letting to see what the community does with the game, and kind of letting them run with it and build this esport from the ground up. And we're just supporting the game to make sure it's always a fun game to play. You know, if the game is easy to watch for our players, it also means it's easier to play, because that way you have clarity, and that definitely matches that design value. So we want the game to be clear to play, which in and of itself will make it clear to watch.
Yeah, readability for me is like a big, important aspect for these games, especially if they have all these characters, all these like variety of abilities. They need to sort of express themselves differently, but if they're sort of incongruous or they're very different, like it can be hard to read, like what is this splash of energy versus this one. You know?
It's readability is definitely, I actually would fault ourselves. I don't think we're doing a great job of it, and it's something we're working on to clean up. You know, we're going through spell effects like, hey, can we tone down some of the particles here? Can we up the opacities or the translucency, lower the opacity? You know, and we're making sure when we develop new heroes that they always have strong silhouettes that read differently from all of our other heroes. It's definitely on the forefront, and readability is definitely a high value for us and something we want to keep working on.
So it seems like it works in your guys' advantage that you have, you know, a huge stable of characters to draw from. You guys announced the Lost Vikings here at BlizzCon as one of the new characters, which I thought was terrific. Are we going to see Overwatch, you know, pulled into Heroes of the Swarm? Is that a possibility?
I would love to have Overwatch heroes in Heroes of the Storm. You know, it's definitely something that as we've been watching them develop, and we're like, hey, can we? And they've been like, hey guys, you wanna? You know, but we're still trying to figure out, you know, what's the right time for that. You know, we definitely want Overwatch to develop and let it do its own thing and really respect that boundary. But you know, we're all huge fans of the game ourselves, and so, you know, we're clearly showing that we're willing to pull heroes from everywhere. So, you know, hopefully in the future that's something that we can start to bring over, you know, Overwatch heroes into Heroes of the Storm and see how does their gameplay in that game translate to our game. But that's definitely a question for later on down the road. You know, let's let their game come out first before, you know, we start bringing their stuff in. That
seems reasonable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just going to be fun to watch. I mean, I obviously Overwatch has some MOBA sensibilities in there.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it seems like a natural fit in some ways. So yeah, you guys are a couple months away from the beta in January, I guess.
Yes.
Can you speak to like what your thinking is about what's important to you in that beta period? Is it balancing? Is it, you know, gathering another type of player data? Is it, you know, are you going to roll out new content and test that over time? Like, just what sort of beta is it to Blizzard?
So for us, it means inviting a whole lot more players to the game. I almost said alpha, but it'll be beta then. So to the beta, right, into the game, because right now we've been increasing the number of players, but we're still like holding back from, you know, how many people have signed up. It's still a relatively small percentage of who we're bringing into the game, and we definitely want to turn that up and open it up more. But we're still ironing out the kinks on the back end. We still want to make sure we get ranked play stood up properly as we bring these players into the closed beta. But you know, for us, closed beta kind of is a sign of like, hey, we're starting to kind of put on those finishing touches that you see Blizzard do at the very end steps. You know, we're still calling it beta because we still think like there's still changes we're willing to make to the game. We view Heroes of the Storm, it's a living game. It's one we're going to continue to iterate on and polish on and add new content to, and continue to tweak old content like we just did with Nova recently. You know, it's something we want to keep working on. We're all huge fans of the game, obviously, otherwise we shouldn't be working on it, but you know, we love this game and we want to keep supporting it. So beta for us means a lot more players into it, and saying like is a key, like, hey, we're getting that much closer to officially releasing the game and having the full suite of features stood up. I think with beta, we're really looking forward to getting ranked play coming online.
All right, sounds good, Kent. Well, thanks for walking me through it, and good luck getting ready for the beta process.
Thank you.